In the quiet realm of Orinéa, nestled between sapphire mountains and lakes that shimmered like glass, the wind carried whispers no one understood, except for a small village girl named Ari. Ari was 14, with messy raven-black hair tied in two fluttering braids and eyes like dusky violets. She lived in the edge-hugging village of Lumenfall, where homes were carved into hillside groves and flowers glowed faintly in the moonlight. Every evening, when others tucked themselves into their fire-lit cottages, Ari would sneak past the moss-covered garden gate into the meadows, barefoot and humming. Tonight was no different. "Hiroshi's probably going to scold me again," she whispered to herself, tiptoeing past an old oak where an owl blinked sleepily. "But I have to know what the wind is saying tonight." As she crossed the moon-silvered bridge over the brook, she paused, lifting her arms into the breeze. And there it was again, a soft, song-like whisper only she could hear. "Come, child of petals. The garden wakes." Ari's heart raced. That phrase again. She had heard it every night for the past week. Yet no one believed her, not even her best friend Hiroshi, who always acted like her bodyguard. Back in the village, Hiroshi, broad-shouldered for a 15-year-old and with short ash-brown hair and a constant serious face, was pacing near Ari's window. "Gone again," he muttered. "She'll catch cold or worse." He grabbed his lantern, slung his scarf over his shoulder, and headed after her. Meanwhile, Ari wandered deeper into the glade. The stars above glittered like tiny bells in the sky, and the earth beneath her feet pulsed faintly with magic. A tree branch above her trembled, then a soft, glowing light drifted down. It was a petal. Not just any petal, a starlit one. Pale lavender with gold flecks. Ari caught it in her hand, and the moment she did, the meadow stirred with a breeze as warm as summer breath. The air shimmered, and suddenly the grass parted, revealing a hidden path lit by blue fireflies. Gasping, Ari took a cautious step onto the path. "Wait for me," came Hiroshi's voice, panting as he emerged from the brush. He paused when he saw the path, eyes wide. "What is this?" "I told you," Ari whispered, turning back toward him with a giddy grin. "The garden is calling." Ari took Hiroshi's hand without hesitation, her fingers trembling with wonder. He flinched slightly, unused to the contact, but didn't pull away. Together, they stepped onto the hidden path. As soon as they did, a soft hum filled the air, like chimes made of wind and water. The fireflies drifted lazily ahead, guiding them into a veil of mist that shimmered with colors. Rose, teal, moonlight silver. When they passed through it, the world shifted. Before them stretched an impossibly vast garden, lush beyond reason, untouched by time. Trees arched like cathedral spires, their bark etched with glowing runes. The air was thick with the scent of blossoms unknown to the outside world, velvety lilies that chimed when touched, golden dahlias that seemed to smile in the moonlight. Ari gasped audibly. "It's beautiful, it's unreal," Hiroshi murmured, blinking. "Like something out of a legend." Just then, a soft giggle floated through the air. From behind a curtain of hanging wisteria, a small figure peeked out. She was no taller than a fox, with butterfly wings of transparent pink and hair like cotton candy. "Oh, humans," she squeaked, eyes wide with excitement. "Real ones." Hiroshi instinctively moved in front of Ari. "Who are you?" The tiny figure zipped forward with a speed that made both of them flinch. "I'm Mira. Mira of the Petal Guard. You must be Ari, yes? The one the winds chose?" Ari blinked. "Wait. How do you know my name?" Mira twirled in the air, showering sparkles. "The garden has been waiting for you. You heard the call, didn't you? That means you're the Bloom Seer." Hiroshi frowned. "Bloom Seer? What's that?" "The guardian of balance," Mira said, serious for the first time. "Only one is born every 100 years. The garden calls to them when a storm brews in Orinéa's magic." Ari's heart thudded. A storm. Before Mira could explain, a rumble echoed through the trees. The petals in the air froze, hovering motionless. "Too late," cried Mira. They found us. The sky darkened. From the far edge of the garden came a screech, harsh, metallic. From the shadows emerged thorn beasts, wolf-like creatures with bark-thick skin and glowing crimson eyes. Hiroshi shoved Eri behind him, drawing a wooden dagger he always carried. Back! I'll hold them off. But then Eri felt something, deep in her chest, like a song unsung. Her palm glowed. The starlit petal she had caught earlier flared with light. "Wait!" she whispered, stepping forward. "Let me try something." The light spread from her hand, a ripple of warmth and peace. The thorn beasts halted, snarling, but their eyes dulled. One by one, they backed away and vanished into the mist. Silence. Mira landed on Eri's shoulder, wide-eyed. "You really are the bloom seer." Eri looked down at her glowing hand. What does this mean?" "It means," Mira said solemnly, "you're the only one who can save the garden." Mira led them deeper into the garden, through glistening tunnels of jade vines and over crystal bridges. The garden seemed endless, each bend revealing new wonders. Trees with lantern-like fruit, birds that sang lullabies instead of songs, even a stream that chuckled gently like a wise old man. After an hour of walking, they arrived at a wide clearing surrounded by massive flower blooms the size of houses. A ring of beings stood waiting, the Council of Blossoms. There were 6 of them, guardians of the ancient garden. Elder Orin, a tall moss-covered figure with bark-like robes and golden eyes. Silvabelle, a floating dryad with petals for hair and a voice like wind chimes. Shiku, a grumpy mushroom spirit riding a ladybug. Kaori, a deer with lavender antlers and a soft aura. Eula, a sentient sunflower with a giant smile and fluttering leaf hands. Bellatrix, a nocturnal flower spirit cloaked in midnight. "The bloom seer returns," Elder Orin said, bowing slightly. I don't know what I'm supposed to do," Eri said honestly. Silvabelle hovered forward. "You are the voice of harmony. When the balance between magic and memory begins to decay, the bloom seer must weave it back together." Eri glanced at Hiroshi, who gave her a firm nod. Bellatrix's eyes glowed. "A rift has opened. The thorn beasts you saw are only the beginning." Kaori stepped forward. "You must awaken the 6 dream roots, magical sources hidden across the garden. Only they can restore Orinéa's fading heart." Shiku grunted. "Bah, she's too young." "She has Hiroshi," Mira said with defiance. "And me." Eri raised her head, the glowing petals still clutched in her hand. "I'll do it. I don't know how, but I'll try." Elder Orin raised his staff. "Then let your first path be the grove of murmuring ferns. The first dream root sleeps there." The next morning, Mira joined Eri and Hiroshi as their guide. The garden had changed. Light seemed thinner, colors less vibrant. The fading had begun. "The grove is north," Mira chirped. Past the pool of glass light, through the tunnel of echo leaves. Along the way they encountered new creatures. A giggling clover sprite offered them water in a coconut shell. A sleepy snail sage gave Hiroshi a scroll for protection. They even passed a dancing field of dandelions that swirled in unison when Eri walked through. After hours of walking, they reached the tunnel of echo leaves. A living cave where every word bounced back tenfold, but never in your own voice. "Be careful," Mira warned. "The Echo WYRMS live here. They feed on fear and memory." Eri took Hiroshi's hand. "We'll go together." Inside, shadows danced on walls. Whispers curled from unseen corners. "You'll never be enough. He'll leave you behind. The garden will fade because of you." Eri's knees buckled. Hiroshi stepped in front of her, shouting, "Shut up! She's stronger than any of you." A burst of light erupted from the starlit petal again, silencing the voices. Suddenly, the Echo WYRMS emerged, snake-like spirits with transparent bodies made of sound. But instead of attacking, they bowed. "You have faced your inner song," they hissed. "You may pass." The grove of murmuring ferns was eerily silent. The air felt still, too still, as if even time held its breath. They stepped into a clearing where a massive fern curled at the center, its fronds glowing faintly. "This is it," Mira whispered. Eri approached, but vines suddenly shot from the earth, grabbing her wrists and ankles. "Thorn corruption," Mira cried. From the shadows stepped a boy, a teen with snow-white hair, cloaked in black leaves. His eyes glowed red. "I am Riven, the echo touched," he said. "You should not have come." "Who are you?" Eri gasped. "I was chosen by the garden once. Then it turned its back on me." Eri's heart ached. "You were a bloom seer?" "I was betrayed," Riven growled. "And now I serve the thorns." He raised a hand, and the dream root groaned. "Don't!" Eri shouted, light flaring from her palm. For a moment, her glow met Riven's shadow and balanced. Riven stumbled back. "That light?" "You don't have to serve the thorns," Eri said gently. But Riven vanished in a swirl of shadows. The vines retracted. The dream root pulsed softly. A bud opened in Eri's hand, light flowing from it into the sky. "One down," Hiroshi said, breathless. "5 more to go," Eri whispered, holding the glowing bud close. The next dream root slumbered beneath the pool of lost colors, a sacred lake where all forgotten emotions drifted like paint on water. Mira flew ahead, twirling. "It's one of my favorite places, but be careful. Memories here can trap you." The pool was mesmerizing. Shimmering hues swirled in the water, mauves of old laughter, faded reds of grief, soft golds of distant joy. At the center stood a lotus the size of a boat, blooming with the light of the second dream root. But as Eri stepped closer, the water rippled and voices rose again. A scene emerged on the surface, Eri as a child crying under a willow tree forgotten during the village's summer festival. "I never wanted to be alone," the memory Eri whispered. Hiroshi watched the vision, fists clenched. "I should have been there." A hand slipped into his. Eri was trembling but smiling. "You're here now." Suddenly, the waters churned. Out burst Terra, a spirit of sorrow made from dripping color and old lullabies. She wept constantly, her body shifting between pastel blue and heavy gray. "You may not take the dream root," she wept. "It will only deepen your pain." "No," Eri said softly. "It'll heal it." She knelt and let the petal glow in her palm. "Pain is a color too. It belongs here. But it shouldn't be all there is." Terra paused, then smiled through her tears. "Then take it, gentle one. Paint the garden anew." The dream root released a glowing orb. The colors of the lake brightened, joy blooming once more. To reach the third dream root, they had to climb into the Skyflower Pavilion, a floating island tethered to the earth by golden vines. Eri blinked up at it. "How do we?" A thunderous trumpet sounded. A large shadow swooped in. An enormous sky whale with glimmering wings. "Behold!" bellowed its rider. A flamboyant boy with emerald eyes and gold-trimmed robes. "You seek the sky's blessing, yes? I am Prince Tallow of Cloud Saddle." Mira groaned. "Ugh, Tallow, drama king of the skies." "Climb aboard," Tallow announced. "Only those of blooming heart may enter the pavilion." Once airborne, the world below shrank to dreamlike specks. The sky around them shimmered with drifting blossoms. They landed at the pavilion, a floating structure made of translucent petals, where wind chimes whispered wishes. Inside, wind spirits danced around a seed suspended in midair, the dream root. But the sky suddenly darkened. A winged beast screeched overhead. Umbrin, a shadow crow conjured by Riven's curse. It attacked. Tallow leapt into action, slicing air with his twin wind blades. "Defend the petals," Eri stood beneath the dream root. We protect this together. The group formed a circle. Hiroshi deflected strikes. Mira confused Umbran with sparkles, and Eri's light pulse struck true. The crow exploded into dust. The third dream root bloomed, raining feathers of light. 3 roots now stir, Mira said. Half the garden remembers. On their descent, the group was met with an unexpected delight. The Petal Fox Parade. A troop of fox-like creatures with flower tails and lantern eyes danced through the glade, celebrating the blooming of a dream root. It's the Mid-Garden Festival. Mira squeaked. We forgot it was today. Each fox twirled in colorful costumes. A petal fox named Fennel offered Eri a crown of glowing roses. The Bloomseer returns to light our lanterns. Villagers of Orinéa hidden deep in the garden came out, forest dancers, moss musicians, even a stone-skinned baker offering honey cakes. Eri and Hiroshi were swept into the dance, laughter bubbling free for the first time in days. Even Tallow joined, striking dramatic poses as fireworks of pollen exploded overhead. In that moment, Eri felt warmth from the earth, sky, and stars all at once. But then a hush fell. One of the foxes whimpered. Riven appeared, cloak fluttering, standing on the trunk of a weeping cherry tree. You celebrate too soon, he said, eyes glowing crimson. The 4th dream root is already withering. He vanished again. The joy thinned like mist. Eri looked down at her glowing hand. There was still work to do. That night, the group camped beneath the moonbloom tree, whose blossoms glowed like soft fireflies. Eri couldn't sleep. Something tugged at her spirit, an echo calling her deeper inward. A gentle voice in the breeze said, "Come alone." Guided by moonlight, Eri wandered to a hidden pond with perfectly still water. In the center was a silver mirror suspended over a stone altar. The dream mirror. It's said to show the soul, Mira whispered, appearing beside her. Only Bloomseers can see what truly lies beyond it. Eri stepped forward and looked. In the mirror she saw herself, but older, wiser, wearing robes woven from starlight and petals. Her reflection was smiling, not at her, but with her. Then a shadow flickered. A younger version of Riven stood beside her reflection, not as an enemy but a friend. What does this mean? She asked Mira, shaken. Possibility, Mira said gently. Your light can still reach him. The garden shows what might be, not what must. Eri knelt by the water. I have to understand him. The mirror shimmered once more, then vanished into mist. Eri returned to camp quietly, her heart beating with compassion for the boy lost in thorns. The path to the 4th dream root led into a withered grove once full of songbirds and bloom. Now, thorned vines strangled the trees, and silence ruled. In the middle stood a stone tower wrapped in black roses, pulsed with uneasy energy. Suddenly, a child's laughter echoed from within. Inside the tower, they found a mural half eroded. Mira brushed the dust away. It's him, Hiroshi whispered. The mural depicted a young Riven laughing among flower spirits and council elders. At his side was another child, a girl with sunfire hair. Mira frowned. That's Aelira, the last Bloomseer. They were best friends. Eri's heart clenched. What happened? A ghostly voice answered, I was forgotten. Riven stepped from the shadows. But something was different. His eyes held pain, not hate. I trained with Aelira, he said. But when she died during the last Thorfall, they abandoned me. Said I wasn't strong enough. He stared at Eri. Now I see they were waiting for you. I'm not here to replace you, she said quietly. I'm here to heal what was broken. He laughed bitterly. Then stopped me. Dark vines lunged, but Eri raised her hand and her light didn't strike. It surrounded the thorns with warmth. Riven froze as the vines withered around him. What are you doing? He whispered. Showing you what the garden still believes you can be, she replied. The 4th dream root glowed again, revived not by force, but forgiveness. Though Riven vanished once again, he left behind a single rose. Not black, but soft pink. He's changing, Mira murmured. The next path led to the Whisperthorn Woods, a forest where even your thoughts could grow into vines if you weren't careful. As they entered, the woods whispered, "You doubt. You fear. You'll fail." Talo waved his hand dramatically. "Ignore them. I never doubt. Ever." Hiroshi rolled his eyes. "We'll keep our thoughts guarded." But Eri hesitated. "What if I do fail?" The Whisperthorns stirred. But before they could react, a tiny voice piped up. "Don't be scared." From a burrow emerged a tiny hedgehog with glasses, carrying a spellbook 3 times his size. "I'm Thimble, garden librarian. I've been hiding here since the thorns came." He waddled forward. "Your thoughts create the path, but together you can shape them." Eri nodded and closed her eyes, focusing on a memory of the Petal Fox parade of laughter and light. The thorns trembled, then parted into a glowing path. "Thought shapes bloom," Thimble said proudly. "Remember that." At the end of the forest, the 5th dream root waited, barely alive. Eri knelt and whispered, "You're not alone." It bloomed instantly. With 5 dream roots awakened, the garden began to revive, though the final bloom remained. Mira guided them to a mountaintop where an ancient hut lay curled beneath a giant dandelion dome. "This is the home of the Fable Keeper," she said. "She knows every story ever whispered in Orinéa." They knocked. The door opened to reveal a tall woman with a mask of wood and moss and eyes of spinning galaxies. "I am Elinara, and you carry heavy stories," she said. Inside, scrolls and floating tomes flurried around them. A fire made of moonlight crackled in the hearth. Elinara brewed petal tea and spoke slowly. "Stories are seeds. You've gathered many, but the final dream root requires the oldest one of all, the Song of Origin." Eri tilted her head. "What is it?" "A lullaby whispered by the first Bloomseer. It lies within the frozen Bloom Temple, locked in frost. Only true harmony can awaken it." Hiroshi frowned. "Then we go together. One last path." Elinara handed Eri a scroll glowing faintly. "When you read these words beneath the frozen tree, the last dream root shall awaken." The hut faded behind them as they began the final journey. The snow came first. Not cold, not harsh, but soft, like the world holding its breath. As they ascended the mountain trail, frost covered the petals in Eri's hair. Hiroshi offered her his scarf. "Not long now." The frozen Bloom Temple stood at the peak, built from ice glass and glowing crystal. At its heart was a single ancient tree entirely encased in frost. It shimmered with pale blues, delicate as breath. Mira flew slower now. "This is the last dream root. The origin tree. It bloomed when Orinéa was born." Inside, the wind howled softly. Eri stepped forward with the scroll Elinara had given her. The words glowed the moment she began to speak. "In petals born, through heart and light, when garden sleeps in endless night, let harmony restore the bloom and silence turn to springtime tune." Light pulsed from the frozen tree. Cracks spread across the ice and the frost melted in a radiant shimmer. The final dream root opened with a musical sigh. But then an earthquake shook the temple. A voice, ancient and angry, thundered from the mountain itself. "You dare wake the origin and forget the roots of pain?" Dark vines tore through the walls. A massive form emerged, cloaked in night fire and thorn steel. The Thorn King had returned. His voice was gravel and flame, eyes of bleeding amber, a towering figure made of twisted bark, crowned in withered roses. "You Bloomseers always think you can fix what you abandoned." Eri stood firm, though her hands trembled. "Who are you really?" "I was once the first gardener," he snarled. "The one who planted Orinéa. But when sorrow came, you sealed me away, left my grief to rot in the dark." Mira whispered in fear. "He was the one who created the garden, before he became its curse." The Thorn King raised a massive root blade. "You will not erase me again." He struck, but Hiroshi blocked the blow with a protective spell Thimble had taught him. Talo summoned a storm gale to push the king back. Eri shouted, "You're still part of this garden. he roared. Then I shall fall with it. Riven suddenly appeared from the snow, stepping between them. Enough! The Thorn King blinked. You don't have to destroy everything, Riven said. We can listen, like she did for me. Aries' eyes widened. You came back. I never truly left, he said, summoning a ring of light around the dream root. Let's finish this together. The ground split. The dream root glowed, then shot beams into the sky. A platform of petals formed beneath Aries' feet, rising into the air. She was lifted into a pocket of starlight, alone. From the sky, 6 glowing figures appeared, echoes of past bloomseers. You have reawakened the garden, they said in unison. But to restore balance, your soul must be weighed. The Lightheart trial had begun. Aerie floated before them as images formed in the starlight. Her fears, her envy, her loneliness. The time she resented Hiroshi for not understanding. The moment she almost didn't follow the whisper that began it all. Tears welled in her eyes. I'm not perfect. I'm scared every step. A single Bloomseer spirit stepped forward. Aelira. You don't need perfection, she said, touching Aerie's heart. Only truth. And love. A final image bloomed, Aerie reaching out to Riven. Then you are worthy. The sky shattered into music. Aerie descended, light bursting from her chest like a sunrise. The dream root burst open fully. The garden trembled with rebirth. With all 6 dream roots awakened, vines of pure gold and lavender stretched across Orinéa. Flowers long forgotten bloomed anew. The Thorn King fell to one knee, thorns crumbling. I remember now, he rasped. The laughter, the planting, the promise. Aerie held out her hand. Let us plant again. The king wept, not in rage, but release. His shadow form dissolved into petals that drifted across the land. From those petals grew a new tree, a bloom tree unlike any before, glowing with the light of 6 roots. The garden cheered. The council of blossoms appeared, bowing. Mira cried into a mushroom. Tallow did cartwheels midair. Thimble held up a scroll and shouted, we survived a saga. Aerie turned to Hiroshi. It's not just magic. It's choice. And care. He smiled. And you chose all of us. The origin tree shone one final time, sealing the balance of Orinéa forever. Though the crisis had ended, Orinéa still needed tending. Aerie stayed in the garden. So did Hiroshi, becoming the protector of the restored bloom tree. Mira was promoted to Sparkling Petal General, though she still preferred stealing sugar puffs. Riven remained, watching the garden from the quiet shade, slowly learning to smile. Each week, Aerie visited new corners of Orinéa where forgotten creatures re-emerged, whispering ivy dragons, meadow bears, even talking koi who sang opera. One day, a young child wandered into the garden. Aerie smiled and held out a petal. Welcome, she said. You heard the whisper too, didn't you? The cycle of harmony continued. The stars shone gently above, and Orinéa slept, blooming in dreams. A week after the final dream root awakened, the Council of Blossoms hosted a celebration not held in over a century, the Petal Lantern Festival. Every flower you light is a memory, Mira chirped, floating around Aerie's head. A wish. A whisper. A thank you. The garden was alive with color. Lanterns made from glowing petals drifted through the trees, lifted by warm winds and gentle songs sung by the clover sprites. Pathways were lined with soft moss and glimmering pebbleites. Tallow arrived in a suit made entirely of floating lilies. I am the bloom of the ball, he proclaimed, twirling and knocking over a mushroom cake table. Aerie, dressed in soft twilight robes gifted by Silverbell, held a single petal lantern. She whispered into it, thank you, garden, for calling me. She let it go. It floated up, joining thousands of others in the starlit sky. Hiroshi stood beside her, quietly releasing his own. Thank you for not giving up. Riven watched from a tree branch, holding a lantern he hadn't released. Not yet. One cool morning, the group found themselves invited to Nettleberry Hill, where berry spirits challenged travelers to a game of riddles and jelly hopping. Come on. Mira cheered. It's fun. Riven grumbled. I'm not made for games. The jelly hopping began. Tallow fell immediately. Eri giggled as Mira bounced perfectly. Hiroshi strategized each jump like a puzzle. Riven watched until a wild hedgehog launched from a jelly and smacked into him. He fell flat, covered in berry jam. Silence. Then, for the first time, Riven laughed. Loud, surprised, eyes crinkled like a boy again. Everyone froze in shock. Even Riven looked stunned. That actually felt nice? The group burst out laughing together. That night, as they sat around a dandelion fire, Mira whispered, "He's healing." Eri nodded. The garden isn't the only one. Weeks later, Eri stood at the garden's edge, staring down the path that led home. "I should visit," she murmured. "They probably think I vanished." Hiroshi volunteered to come. Mira too, disguised in a mushroom hat. Riven stayed behind but handed her a single pale petal. "Remind them," he said, "that even forgotten gardens bloom again." The village of Lumenfall hadn't changed. Same cobblestone paths. Same murmuring brook. But when Eri stepped into the town square, people stopped and stared. The mayor gasped. "Eri? You're how?" She smiled gently. "The garden needed me." She spent the day telling tales about firefly bridges and dancing foxes, about Myra's snoring and Riven's redemption. That night, she sat with her mother under the stars. "I always knew you were meant for something magical," her mother whispered, brushing Eri's hair. And in the breeze, Eri heard the whisper again. "Welcome home, Bloomseer." Back in Orinéa, Elder Orin gave Eri a new task. Restoring the memory orchard. It holds the hearts of old stories, but many have faded. The orchard's trees bore crystal fruit, each one a tale, a friendship, a lost song. But half the trees were bare. Together with Hiroshi, Mira, and Thimble, Eri spent days gathering laughter, kindness, and memories. Literally. Each time someone recalled a good deed or special moment, a bud appeared. Even tallow helped, teaching a group of dragonfly children a dance routine that had everyone in stitches. By week's end, the orchard glowed again, blossoms shining like firelight. Mira hugged one of the trees. Now these stories will never be forgotten. Eri added her own memory to a new sapling. The moment Riven laughed, it shimmered the brightest of them all. One rainy morning, Thimble scurried up to the bloom tree, scrolls fluttering. "Eri, Hiroshi, I found a hidden wing in the garden library." Buried beneath tangled roots and moon moss, they uncovered a spiral stair into a stone vault filled with floating tomes. "This is the archive of the unread," Thimble explained, putting on bigger glasses. Stories that were never finished. One book hovered to Eri. Its title, The Lost Blueseer. Inside was a tale of a child chosen by the garden, but the story ended abruptly. "It's unfinished," she whispered. "Maybe," Hiroshi said, "you're meant to finish it." Eri smiled, then wrote the next sentence herself. She returned light to what was forgotten. As she did, the book glowed and a new flower bloomed in the library. One evening, as moonmist settled across the garden, a soft whistle echoed through the trees. A train. Eri blinked. A silver rail curved through the sky like a ribbon, and from it arrived the Moonlight Train, a floating locomotive made of crystal, steam, and stars. A conductor with an owl's head bowed. "Moonlight tickets, please." Thimble squeaked, "It only appears once a century. It visits the dream places, memories not yet made." Eri, Hiroshi, Mira, and Tallow boarded. Inside were carriages of impossible beauty, a corridor of floating books, a car where dancers spun in slow motion, a garden where you could meet the child version of yourself. Eri sat across from a younger her, quiet, lonely, holding a single petal. "You're not alone anymore," Eri whispered to her past. The child smiled, then faded into sparkles. The train slowed at the edge of the sky. The conductor tipped his hat. "You are no longer passengers. You are weavers now." And with that, the train vanished back into the stars. Not long after, the garden held a rarer festival, one that spoke only in silence. The Festival of Soundless Songs honored the feelings too deep for words. No one spoke, not even Mira. Instead, petals floated in the air, each carrying an emotion. You held one to your heart and it would sing silently. Eri chose a soft blue petal. She felt love. Hiroshi chose golden orange. He felt home. Riven, quietly entering the festival grounds, hesitated, then picked a silver petal. He closed his eyes, and for the first time he felt forgiveness. That night, instead of fireworks, the sky shimmered with waves of silent light, auroras of memory and peace. Eri took Hiroshi's hand. No words were needed. The bloom tree suddenly shed its blossoms, not in decay, but in rest. The tree is sleeping, Mira said, perched on a branch. All living magic needs time to dream. Without the bloom tree's guidance, the garden became quieter. Slower. Still. Eri helped gather the fallen petals and plant them in small gardens across Orinéa. One beside the Firefly Brook, one in Nettleberry Hill, one near Riven's Perch. Hiroshi built a bench under a lantern tree. We wait. Together. Days passed. The garden dimmed. Creatures napped more. Spirits wandered slower. Mira built a hammock of cotton leaves. And then, on the 7th night, the bloom tree breathed. A new petal unfurled. Gold and lavender and starlight. The garden stirred, refreshed. And Eri whispered, "Thank you for dreaming." One quiet morning, Eri wandered into an unexpected glade. The grass was soft. The trees curved like guardians. And in the center, Riven, tending to flowers. They weren't normal ones. Strange black-petaled blooms with glowing veins, fierce and beautiful. He looked up, surprised. "You found this place. It's yours?" she asked. "I didn't know what I was planting," he said, brushing soil from his gloves. "But they grew anyway. I call them storm blooms." Eri knelt beside one. "They're lovely. They're flawed," Riven muttered. "So is everything precious," Eri replied. Riven gave her a small grin. "Maybe it's time to open this garden." They spent the afternoon planting more. Even Hiroshi helped, though one storm bloom tried to bite his hand. Mira declared it the grumpiest garden in Orinéa. But it was beautiful. And finally, Riven said, "You can come here anytime." News came from the skies. Tallow, now Skywatch captain, flew down in a gust. A storm brews in the Skywhale Isles. It's not natural. The group took to the clouds on sky beasts, soaring through thunder and glowing wind. Above the isles, the clouds boiled unnaturally. Light twisted. Winds spoke. "We are echoes," a voice cried. "Trapped." Ancient sky spirits, caught in a forgotten spell, had become a storm. They cried out for names, memories. Eri reached into her pouch and pulled petals from the memory orchard. "Let me give you new stories." She sang softly, each petal a gift of identity. "You were Skylin. You were Lyra. You were Malo." One by one, the spirits calmed, wept, then soared free. The sky cleared. The isles bloomed with floating gardens and thanks. Tallow wept dramatically. "You've saved the skies again." Mira passed him a handkerchief. "Try not to drown in your own tears." One dusky evening, Mira whispered, "There's a part of the garden where sleepers wander, lost in dreams." The Sleepwalker's Grove was a place where memories and reality blurred. Mist curled low, and silver leaves brushed gently against Eri's cheeks. Here, spirits who couldn't wake drifted in peaceful wandering. Eri spotted a figure. A young girl with hair like moonlight, eyes closed, smiling softly. "She's dreaming still," Mira said. "We must help her find her way back." Eri held out her hand, glowing softly. "Wake up," she whispered, "the garden is waiting." Slowly, the girl's eyes fluttered open, light filling them. "I remember," she said, tears shining. "Thank you." The grove sighed, a breath of relief. That night, under a canopy of glowing blooms, the Council of Blossoms hosted the night petal tea ceremony, a tradition of reflection and connection. Petals steeped in moonlight brewed fragrant teas, each sip bringing dreams of courage, friendship, or peace. Eri shared a cup with Hiroshi, the warmth spreading like a gentle hug. Mira sipped nervously. "This tea tastes like hope." Tallow poured tea for Riven, who accepted quietly, a small smile tugging at his lips. As stars glittered above, the garden hummed with unspoken promises. The night whispered, "Rest now. Tomorrow is blooming. One morning, Airy discovered an ancient chest beneath the memory orchard. Inside were letters, messages from those long gone, hoping their words might one day be heard. Airy began reading them aloud, stories of love, loss, courage, and wonder. Each letter seemed to ripple with magic, touching the garden itself. She and Hiroshi began writing new letters. Letters to those forgotten, to dreams still waiting. Mira delivered them on the wind, Petals carrying words to the farthest corners of Orinéa. Now, no one is truly forgotten, Airy said, smiling. The garden stirred uneasily when the glimmer root, a small but vital source of magic, began to dim. Airy, Hiroshi, Mira, and Thimble investigated. They found strange shadows creeping around the root, silent and cold. With care, Airy reached into the earth, pulling out a dark shard. "It's a fragment of the old thorn curse," she said. Together, they purified it with light and song. The glimmer root pulsed with renewed life. "Even small roots need care," Thimble said, adjusting his glasses. One quiet evening, Airy placed a glowing petal at the base of the bloom tree. She whispered a wish, not just for Orinéa, but for every dreamer who might one day hear its call. The bloom tree shimmered, sending tendrils of light into the sky. Stars blinked in reply, a cosmic lullaby wrapping the garden in peace. Airy smiled softly. "May all petals find their bloom." One warm evening, as twilight folded over the garden, a soft melody filled the air, the firefly symphony. Thousands of glowing fireflies danced, their lights pulsing in time to invisible music. Airy closed her eyes, letting the light swirl around her like a shimmering cloak. Hiroshi tuned his flute, joining the silent song with gentle notes that wove through the glowing air. Mira clapped along, her laughter sparkling like chimes. From the shadows, shy firefly children emerged, their tiny wings flickering with joy. Together, they created a harmony that healed tired hearts and painted the night with hope. Curious whispers led the group to the crystal caves hidden beneath Orinéa's roots. The walls shimmered with amethyst and sapphire crystals, casting kaleidoscopes of light. Thimble led them carefully, revealing ancient runes carved into the stone. "These crystals store the garden's oldest memories," he explained, waiting to be unlocked. Airy touched a glowing shard, and a vision blossomed, images of the first bloom seer planting the garden's first seed. The caves held knowledge and magic, a reminder that every beginning was precious. One day, Mira discovered a dusty old scroll about a forgotten celebration, the Lost Petal Festival. They decided to revive it, inviting every creature of Orinéa. The festival was a vibrant burst of colors, with dances, flower crowns, and stories shared beneath a sky full of lantern petals. Airy told tales of her journey, of friendship and healing. Even Riven joined, his smile brighter with every laugh. The festival became a new tradition, a symbol of rebirth and togetherness. Under the bloom tree's shade, Hiroshi made a quiet vow. "I'll protect this garden," he said, eyes steady. "Not just with magic, but with my heart." Airy squeezed his hand, warmth spreading between them. Together, they watched the petals flutter in the breeze, knowing their bond was part of Orinéa's new story. At dawn, a group of glowing figures arrived, the starborn gardeners, celestial beings who nurtured worlds. They greeted Airy and her friends warmly. "Orinéa has blossomed again because of you," their leader said, "and now it will grow beyond even the stars." They taught new magic. How to plant wishes, how to weave starlight into roots. The garden shimmered with endless possibilities. Beneath the silvery glow of the full moon, Airy and her friends visited the Moonflower Oracle, a mystical bloom that only opened once a year. The oracle whispered secrets on the wind, visions of possible futures wrapped in petals of shimmering white. Airy asked softly, "How can we keep the garden safe?" The oracle's petals fluttered, and a voice like velvet answered, with trust in the roots you've planted and the hearts you've touched. Tallow bowed dramatically. A prophecy. I love a good prophecy. Mira rolled her eyes but smiled. The oracle's light bathed them in calm, reminding them that growth was a journey, not a race. The group followed a winding trail to the river of time, a flowing ribbon of liquid silver that carried memories like petals on its surface. Each ripple holds a moment, Thimble said, adjusting his glasses. Past, present, future, all entwined. Ari peered into the water and saw flashes of her own journey, the laughter, the trials, the friendships. She reached out and the river shimmered, offering glimpses of moments yet to come. Hiroshi touched her shoulder. No matter what time brings, we face it together. The river flowed on, carrying them gently forward. There was a part of Orinéa where no sound ever stirred, the silent grove. Some said it was a place of peace, others a place of forgotten sorrow. Ari entered with care, feeling the weight of quiet around her. She noticed faint glowing symbols on the trees, messages of hope left by those who had passed through. Closing her eyes, she sent light from her heart into the grove. Slowly, the silence was filled not with noise, but with a soft, comforting hum. Even the stars above seemed to pulse in gratitude. Deep beneath the garden was the dreaming wellspring, source of all Orinéa's magic and dreams. The water glowed with every color of the dawn. Ari knelt and touched the surface, feeling the pulse of countless hopes and wishes. Drink, whispered a voice soft and ancient. She drank deeply, visions of the garden's past and future filling her mind. When she rose, her eyes sparkled with renewed purpose. Orinéa will always bloom, she said, as long as we dream. At twilight, under the bloom tree's golden petals, Ari made a vow. To the garden, to my friends, and to every dreamer yet to come, I promise to protect the light we've nurtured. Hiroshi took her hand. And I promise to stand with you. Mira, Tallow, Riven, and Thimble gathered close, their smiles warm and true. The stars above twinkled in approval. The journey was far from over, but together they would face every dawn. In a quiet corner of Orinéa lay the Garden of Echoes, where every sound ever spoken lingered like a gentle breeze. Ari wandered the paths lined with shimmering stones, hearing whispers of old conversations, forgotten songs, and laughter long past. Each echo holds a memory, Thimble explained. Sometimes they help us remember what matters most. Ari paused by a stone etched with the names of past bloomseers. She whispered, "Thank you for lighting the way." The echoes sang softly in reply. A lullaby of hope and continuity. On a starry night, the garden came alive with swirling lights. The celestial petal dance began, petals floating like tiny dancers in the air, their movements weaving stories of stars and dreams. Tallow, ever the showman, performed a flamboyant twirl, drawing cheers from the gathered friends. Mira laughed, joining the dance, while Hiroshi played a gentle tune on his flute. Ari felt her heart lift with every graceful spin, the petals whispering promises of new beginnings. The dance continued until dawn, when petals settled like dew on the garden's blooms. Curious about a map she found in the garden library, Ari set out to find a secret place, the hidden grove. Nestled beneath ancient trees, it was a sanctuary of rare flowers that only bloomed in moonlight. As she stepped inside, a soft glow surrounded her, and memories of her journey filled the air. She found a quiet pond where she could reflect, the water mirroring the stars above. "It's a place to dream," she whispered, "and to remember who I am." One afternoon, a gentle breeze carried voices, soft, urgent, and full of longing. "The whispering winds," Mira said. "They carry messages from distant parts of Orinéa." Ari closed her eyes and listened. The wind spoke of a lost petal, a forgotten promise, and a new hope waiting to bloom. Together, the friends followed the breeze, uncovering small acts of kindness and long-lost friendships rekindled. The winds wrapped around them like a warm embrace, reminding them that even the smallest voice can carry far. Back beneath the bloom tree, the last dream root pulsed with gentle energy. Ari reached out, feeling its warmth spread through her fingertips. The dream root gifted her a single petal, one that shimmered with the light of every friend, every memory, and every hope. "Carry this," Mira said softly. To remind you that the garden's magic lives in all of us. Eri held the petal close, her heart full. Together, they watched as the garden bloomed brighter than ever before. One evening, as twilight kissed the horizon, a shimmering bridge made of starlight appeared, arching over the garden's river. This bridge connects the seen and unseen, Mira explained, eyes wide with awe. Eri stepped onto the glowing path, feeling every heartbeat of Orinéa beneath her feet. With each step, memories and dreams intertwined, weaving stories of past, present, and future. At the bridge's end awaited a glowing portal, a promise of new adventures yet to come. Beneath the petals, deep in Orinéa's roots, Eri felt the steady pulse, the garden's heartbeat. She knelt and placed her hand on the earth, feeling warmth and strength flowing through her veins. This heartbeat is our bond, Hiroshi said, joining her. It keeps the garden alive. Together, they closed their eyes, breathing in the magic that connected every leaf, petal, and soul. In that moment, they understood that Orinéa was not just a place, it was a living, breathing heart. The day came to say goodbye to the bloom tree whose golden petals now drifted softly on the breeze. It's time for the garden to grow on its own, Eri whispered. Friends gathered beneath its branches. Mira, Tallow, Riven, Hiroshi, and Thimble, each holding a glowing petal. One by one, they released them into the wind. The petals sparkled as they floated upward, scattering seeds of magic across the land. Though the tree was gone, its light would forever bloom in every corner of Orinéa. With the first light of morning, the garden awoke to a new day, brighter and more vibrant than ever. Birds sang melodies that carried far and wide. Flowers bloomed in colors unseen before. Eri stood at the garden's heart, smiling. This is just the beginning, she said softly. Around her, friends laughed and played, ready to nurture the endless garden of dreams. Under a sky full of stars, Eri looked up, the garden glowing softly behind her. The petals whispered promises of endless bloom, stories yet told, friendships yet made, dreams yet dreamt. With a heart full of hope, she closed her eyes and breathed in the night. Orinéa's magic was eternal, growing, changing, and blooming forever. And so the story softly ended, only to begin again.